Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
Hey folks, we're just getting started here, grabbing some details, getting things set. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and we will get into broadcasting our thoughts. What'd you say? Bring the pot in. I'll bring the pot in.
Hello?
There you are.
We are live.
We are. We are live out here on YouTube. I believe we're live on Facebook. Table's moving away from you.
Fatty.
We are live on TikTok. We're going to get this all covered.
I feel naked. My phone is recording. Now I can't take questions. If you have questions, Tanner has his phone. Our hotline is 515-207-9640. Probably won't be able to take live phone calls. You can call, leave us a message. You can text in questions. Our goal here is to discuss cash rent auctions, particularly one that's going on right now that's ending in about 11 minutes in Story County, Iowa, right in the middle of Iowa. Home of the Cyclones, actually, Iowa State University. Probably one of the better producing counties in the state, wouldn't you say, Dave? Mm-hmm. It's probably not the top, but it's up there. We got some hot coffee on our brand new table. We're going to stain it. Why not? So, yeah, we're basically going to just discuss the auction first. What's going on, cash rent auctions in general, where we're at in price, probably watch the end, and then try to break down how someone may justify spending what they're going to spend on this, because it's particularly high. Does anyone know the cash rent average for high-quality ground in Story County?
I will be able to get it. Do you want another laptop? Do you have your laptop?
I don't have my laptop. I came right from Hog Chores. This was a last-minute deal we threw together. It actually took a lot of arm twisting on Tanner's part. He really wanted to haul beans or work cattle or whatever you were doing today.
There was no want to. I just was already over there at 6 o'clock this morning.
Why?
It's when the day starts. Got to start feeding cattle.
Oh, my gosh.
Kendall went after a grain vac in
Are we recording
Illinois. Yes.
on our own stuff or just on Riverside?
We are recording on our own stuff.
Okay. Struggling there, Dave?
Yeah, it will not let me record live in portrait view. This is not enough. It won't let me zoom in.
Check. Test. Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay.
Can everybody hear us out in recording land?
You got live up on TikTok?
Who should pay for tiling, the landowner or the long-term renter? We will get into questions like that. We will be taking notes
I would take a piece of paper if you have one.
to all of those.
This poor table. All right, so up for auction is 178.1 acres,
Good morning, K. Mitch.
just southeast of Ziering, Iowa. Looks like 2.5, 3 miles.
Yep, it'd be Story County.
Story County. Auction ends here at 10 a.m., so 9 minutes away. What is the current bid at, Dave?
We can look it up. I was at 520, asking 540 an acre. So it is live and ending. It is at 520, still
at
accepting
520.
bids. There's been 8 bids from the start.
So hit the 8-bit. Let's see when this started, because this thing's been live for a while.
Yep, they started it back on the 11th of this month of December, and at $300 is where they started.
$300 was the base.
Yep.
Let's go through some of the details of, what, because I noticed there's some windmills on this.
Yep.
And then there may be some grain storage. What does it say?
So this auction that's being held in their description, it says you're going to get 178.1 cropland acres. Okay, so that's going to be your tillable. It's a 2-year lease, Corey, that you're getting it for. December 11th, 2023, 10 a.m. Okay, is when it starts. It's going to end on the 27th, right here in a couple minutes. With that, you get 35,500 bushels of grain storage. But hold tight. If you scroll farther, you're going to pay for that grain storage on top of that. So that's not included in the lease. The farm lease, you're also going to pay 12 cents per bushel.
Is that no matter what, or is that if you use it or don't use it, you have to pay 12 cents on that? Do you think?
I don't know. I guess
What'd you say it was 35,000?
35,500.
What's the math on that, there, calculator man?
Boy, we have all of our devices.
You got a calculator on the computer. Come on.
Yeah. So the farm lease, the contracted lease will be for a 2-year period. Once the high bidder is approved by the owner, so you're going to be approved by the owner as well. So if he doesn't like you, Corey, you're screwed. The owner and the high bidder will enter into a real estate contract. 20% down has got to be due on December 31st, 2023.
Of this year?
Yep.
20% down.
We're getting a phone call out of Mount Holly, New Jersey right now.
Really?
Okay. Leave a message. We'll have Tanner screen it and then maybe plug it in and listen to it.
Your grain bin rent is $4,260.
It says right here. I was just about to read it. The payment for the grain storage, 12 cents per bushel, or $4,260 per year. It'll be paid on November 1st of each year for the 2 years contract.
November 1st.
Each year.
Please note that the grain bins are not available until July 31st of 2024.
Well, that should be fun.
That makes sense because you're not going to have any grain from that farm until October, November.
Also, electricity to the bins is paid by the tenant.
Okay, that's standard.
Now, there are wind turbines. So back to your question, the wind turbine income is not part of the lease, it says, and no corn stalks specifically can come off of this farm. You can't take corn
They can't.
stalks.
It says that?
No corn stalks are to be removed from the property.
So that was...
So there goes one income stream. Yeah, someone asked that, could you mine this and harvest the stalks and sell the stalks for bedding or feed or whatever, or ethanol, because ethanol is with Verbio is a deal now in the area. So that is out of the question.
Yep.
You could still mine it, but you can't have that source of income from the stocks. So now let's see. We got 6 minutes left. Let's try to find some county averages, like Story County. ISU puts out some stuff. Like, what is Story County?
So Story
average?
County is in District 5. As of 2023, the average cash rent in District 5 was $292 an acre.
Okay.
So that doesn't give me the low, doesn't give me the high. Now you come down and we look at Story County as we find District 5.
Is this shared? No, that one's shared over there.
Yeah. So I can get that pulled up. But if you look at District 5 for Story County.
Let's call it high quality, because what was the CSR on it, Dave?
88.
88. That's high quality.
Yep.
So
it's just a little bit above that, actually. It's 88 point, bear with me one second, 88.2.
High quality says here that the range was 275 to 400, or the high quality top third is 332.
332 average with a range
275 to 400.
And I'm going to give you my off the cuff average, Corey. It's $5 a CSR point. So if you took 5, let me do the calculations here.
Used to be 4 a couple years ago.
It was. High end ground goes for 5, medium ground goes for 4. So if we take 5 times 88.2, you're talking, that should be 441.
441 if we go by Dave's method.
Just the average. Yep.
Got it. This voicemail is not one we can use.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Was it related to this?
No, it's not related to that.
Oh.
So we're clear. Here is some other information based upon Story County. If you would like to start taking notes and adding these, I'll pull. Let's see if I can get this pulled up for our friends on this side here.
So let's see. Story County, top third, 275 to 400. Some counties right next to it. Polk County would be 340 average with a range of 260 to 550. So there's one that's in range. Holy cow.
Now, Corey, I just went to, there's a company out there, used to be called cashrent.com. Now is Common Ground. They do cash rent lease auctions. That's what they do. They have a lease-timate, or a cash rent estimate is what they're calling it, like a Zestimate on Zillow. And I just put it into their calculation. It says average annual cash rent should be about $421 per acre on the high end and $344 on the low end.
Okay.
So they're basing that off of their averages and their algorithm. It also gives an average bushel per acre. They're figuring that into their formula here of 188. I got to assume that farm does better than 188.
So that's what I was getting ready to share, and it should be popping up on our screen now if you're looking live. If you look at that Story County column, we do have the high third corn yield being an average of 214.
Okay.
Middle quality is your 187, which is basically the 188 that you were talking about. But soybeans, it's coming in at 60 as a high third, 54 as a middle third. So we're going to have to assume this is top quality.
And I would say give it benefit of the doubt that someone's buying it is a super farmer, and they're getting 20%.
You got
more,
2 minutes.
15% more. We got 2 minutes. Bid still at 520.
So, yes, if you are watching us live on YouTube or Facebook, you can now see that cash rent survey that we are using coming from the Iowa State Education's office, the extension office there. Story County is third column from the
Now,
right.
most of what they're doing, I wonder, is they're based on data or is it based on averages of opinions? Because a lot of the Iowa State survey, I know for farmland, they poll the general crowd that is in the business and they say, what should it be?
It says it is based upon responses.
So this is what people think it should be.
Cash rent information is presented in publication form. This is a survey of farmers, landowners, agricultural lenders, and professional farm managers. They are supplied information based upon their best judgments about typical cash rent for high, medium, and low-quality cropland in their ground.
I thought so. So this comes out to guys like me every year, and both there's cash rent and there's farmland values on there. Now, you take a swath of enough people, and you're probably pretty doggone close.
It's the law of averages.
Yep.
Right? Like you're going to eliminate your skewed numbers, and it's all going to come out pretty dang close.
Now, guys, remember, this is a soft close auction. For those of you listening that don't know, if somebody bids in the last 2 minutes, it's going to restart the clock. Okay.
1 minute.
So it will refresh. Yep. But it doesn't look like anybody's bidding yet.
Get your finger off the bid button, Dave.
So are you on? Are you going live?
I'm live on TikTok. Can you see that?
I cannot. Let me go back out of it for us. You're on TikTok.
31 seconds.
Nothing on Twitter.
30 seconds.
You should just auction it off, Dave.
I know. Well, you can, actually, with the software. You could be live if you wanted to. You could say, now, boys, I tell you what, it's worth more than that. Get in and get going. The next bid, if he would have went $10 an acre, maybe he would have got something.
Should mention this is on the Dirt Dealer.
Yep,
Jeff
Mid-Iowa. Real estate and auctions.
And 7 seconds, 6 seconds. Looks like it's going to
close at 5:20.
So I can't see the old comments.
She sold.
Rented.
Didn't sell. Rent.
It rented. Yes, I rented it.
$520. That's pretty remarkable that started on December 11th. I think is what you said.
Yeah.
And it got to 520 pretty dang fast.
You want to know why? See, everybody thinks on a land auction, wait till the last minute. Most of the time, people wait till the last minute. But if you wanted to get in on this one, you could be the last guy. Or if you're the guy that wanted to give us, say, that 500 range, be the first guy to 500. Then everybody else has got a bid above that. Most people historically stop at an even number. I give it, nobody ever says, I'll give you $1,728 for that motorcycle. They say, I'll give you $1,000. I'll give you $1,000, $1,200.
Yep.
They don't go down or past the whole number, the whole integer very much.
So in my opinion, it was a pretty large jump to go from 520 to their next ask of 540.
Correct. That's what I was saying. Do you think he should have?
I think it should have at least been in $5 increments.
$5 increments. Yep.
Because
would you, if you were the $520 bidder, would you have been upset if you got outbid at $525?
Most likely.
Probably, but probably the $520 bidder is also having buyer's remorse right now going, I was trying to make these guys pay, and now I have to rent this thing for 2 years.
Because you said it, right? They had this bid since the 13th of December?
Yep.
Or 18th, whatever day that was. They've been hanging on to that there for a little while. So, so now we've got some hard, fast numbers.
Yep.
Auction closed. It closed at $520 an acre, and it's how many tillable acres?
It is 178.1.
Okay. which it really doesn't matter how many acres it is, because we can assume if 1 acre is profitable, the rest of them are profitable.
That's what we have to assume, yeah.
Okay.
So $520 times 178.1. Math man. Dan,
520
the number man.
times 178. Sounds like Dave's already clicking away over there.
Slowly.
92,612.
Yep. 92,612 divided by 2. So per year.
No.
Times 2.
Times
Or
2.
times 2, yeah.
But don't forget that on the $4,260 for the storage.
For the storage. So what was the main number? 92 what?
92,612.
612. And then plus how much for the rent?
4260.
612 plus
4260. Oh, what the heck?
96,872
96.
Times 2.
times 2. 193,744.
All right. So you got basically a mortgage for a 2-year farm. Man, do you think they're borrowing money to do this? Because
We've got
No.
We've got some friends that would love us to be live doing spaces on Twitter. We just don't have enough devices.
no, and you guys didn't help us out enough. I asked this morning. I know it was kind of last minute.
Yep.
But that would have been nice because we could have had actual other speakers on.
Yeah.
But Spaces doesn't allow the video side of things, and we have to do video stuff. Maybe they do. You guys should prove us wrong.
So, Corey, let's talk the math on this. So what I would normally argue when some young guy on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere goes out there, their main comment is going to be, how in the world does anybody afford that? And my answer would be dollar cost averaging.
I hate that.
So dollar cost averaging,
dislike
don't think of what it costs for the whole farm. Think of what it costs for your operation. So let's pretend for 1 second that you farm 5,000 acres.
Okay.
Okay. So if you farm 5,000 acres and let's say that 3,000 of it is paid for free and clear, and the other 2,000 you rent from grandma, who charges you less cash rent than you probably should be charged.
Okay.
So if the average was 300, grandma only charges you 100.
Yep.
That's all she needs. So you have $100 an acre times your 2,000 acres. Okay. So really you're paying $20,000 a year plus some taxes. Okay. So your current operation is 20,000 plus some. So let's just call it, I don't know what, another 10 grand. So plus, let's just double it, times 2. So we'll multiply that times 2. So you're getting some, grandma's paying the taxes. That's all she wants. You pay $40,000 a year.
This is just your land cost?
This is your land cost, yep.
And so you're assuming that everything else is debt-free?
Assuming everything else is debt-free. If you bought it back in the 80s, 70s for $500 an acre, I'd hope it's...
probably, $30, $40 an acre in taxes?
Yep.
In Iowa. In Nebraska, you'd have $75, $80, $85.
So take 30 times the other 3,000 acres.
Yes, if you're watching us live, you can ask questions. Just type them in. We will get to them here.
$90,000 in taxes plus grandma's rent of $40,000, and you're looking at about $130,000 land cost. If you divide that out by 5,000 acres, right?
It's going to be a small number.
$26 an acre.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, that's if it's paid for.
We're off somewhere here, but okay.
Anyway,
I'm fine with rolling with this.
Hold on. 5,000 acres divided by, what was it, 190?
What would you say your property tax was, Corey?
90,000.
29 to 30.
Let me see your pen there.
So
$35. Say $35.
Yep. Let's do it again. 35 times 3,000 acres.
So why are you dividing by 5,000? That's where you're off.
I flipped it. Yep. So 105. Write down 105, would you? 105 in taxes. Now, let's do grandma. Grandma's charging $100 an acre times 2,000 acres.
Sean says Dave should leave the math to Tanner.
Yes, I should. Uh-huh.
I wanted Tanner to build a spreadsheet on
I don't
this.
have my phone in front of me.
I will. I still want Big Booty Judy to ask us her question that she said she's got going on.
If you won the bid on this, actually text us. I'd love to talk to you. We will hook you into the phone line.
Yep. Ooh, this
So if grandma had 2,000 acres, right, that she rented you for $1,000, or
I mean,
sorry,
could just call it 250?
So
Dave.
there.
Say it's 250.
So
Like
it's
a very
290.
respectable.
So you're
rate.
290. So you're about 290. So 290,000. So take 5,000. Here we go. Now we got our 5,000 acres divided by
That's a better number.
290.
You guys should just tell me what to
290
do.
divided by 5,000.
Give me 1 second. Just clearing it.
Divided by 5,000. All right.
58.
That,
So you're $58 an acre is the average cash rent. Now add another 170 to it that you had to pay. So take that total number. So 290. What's the total payment? What did we figure out?
for 1 year, 96,872.
So take 1 year. Say it again.
96,872.
872. Okay. Plus we use 290 in our
Yep.
example. Plus 290,000. We have 386,872 divided by, now we're 5,171 acres. Divided by 5,171 or somewhere close to that acres. It costs you $74 an acre. So for that person that has paid off ground, they're still under $100 an acre. So when people ask, how can you make this jive? Now, can you make money if I could rent you a farm at $70 an acre?
Oh, yeah. My answer, my
Yeah,
rebuttal to
I'm-
this,
I'm
though,
ready to get on the
is-
rebuttal train.
why? Why add the acres and run your equipment over more acres and wear it out more and more time? Time is money if it's a loser. A loser is a loser. Cut the fat. Do better on what you have.
But
Why-
would you lose if you got to rent it out?
all this tells you to do is I farm more acres.
Yeah, because if
It-
you're
it's-
dollar cost averaging down,
Yeah.
all you're doing is offsetting a potential loss from the 178 acres. If we can't pencil out a profit, those 178 acres still lost money.
Yep.
You maybe made a bunch more money on your 3,000 that you own, and you made a little bit less on grandma's land. The 178 that you're farming may result in a $30 to $60 an acre loss. And yes, your whole farm will not go broke.
Yep.
But why lose money on 175 acres when you don't have to? So what's the motivation? Is the motivation thinking that after this 2 years, I'm going to get to talk to the landowner and we're going to renegotiate?
Correct.
Or because this landowner already went to a cash rent auction, what do you think's going to happen 2 years from now?
What about
Did we discover who the landowner was?
I haven't yet. I sure can. What if you're on the verge of being to where you get the seed discount, the fertilizer discount, and you just needed to add another couple hundred acres to be able to
You're
get
at 5,000 acres. You're already there.
correct? But what's the limit? Like, I don't know.
Anthony says it's pride.
Well, there's that, but I don't want to say there's an acre limit because it's not.
Does it also bring
So
your cost-
political.
Does it bring your cost down in your tractor because now you're driving it over more acres, so you're dividing it out?
Yeah.
There's
who told us
potential there.
If you are a big farmer and you're buying new, you actually get it, like 15% less?
Yeah,
than
our
what the,
Moving Iron podcast.
Yeah. So you get it 15% less
That's right.
than what the dealer actually gets it at. So I wanted to run the scenario. What if you're 5,000 acres?
Yeah.
Say you had a $200 per acre land cost.
Okay.
So that's owned, grandma's cheap rent, a little bit of higher rent, some average rent,
Yep.
$200. You probably have some $330, $350 in there. You might have some grandma's at $150. You might own some free and clear.
Yep.
Average $200.
Yep.
And now add this in there.
So what? You're $1 million.
So that's $1 million at $200.
Okay, but then we got to
At
add
5,000. So add your 96,872.
96,872.
We really should have made Dave the tech guy and let me do the math.
You have two computers.
So now you're $1 million.
I know. I'm 2 computers and a phone.
96,872 divided by 5,178.
Okay, 5,178. You're looking at 211.
So it raises your land cost $12.
$12
I mean, that's not much.
across all the acres,
But
though.
still, I would still argue if it's a loser, it's a loser.
Yep.
Now, what is the scenarios of people always say, well, they had manure. They had to have it for the manure. They had seed corn, Seed corn.
I do believe there is a hog site across the road to the north.
I'll look it up.
Let's look up some landowners and see who owns the land, because I think that might make some things come to light. What site are you using, Dave?
I like Land ID. Land ID is very good with a lot of different layers, but it'll also show potential development zones if they might think that there's future something down the road.
What are you looking up, Tanner?
I was going to pull up the Ag Decision Makers Excel spreadsheet that we could just mold and manipulate ourselves to see if we could make that.
Yeah, I thought we were just going to watch you work your magic
I'm happy to.
from scratch.
I'm happy to. Is
Tanner
that
bake an
something?
Excel document from scratch is one of his core talents.
Core talents. All right, so landowner looks like Gardner, Iowa Farms, LLC. Like, it's going to come out probably who bought this.
Oh yeah, because
Okay.
someone's going to see
Somebody's going to see
tractor out
there, and they're going to see your Bush Light combine. And when they
Yeah,
do,
not mine.
when they see it out there, then they're going to say, Corey's given 520 on this. Hey, how much better is that ground than mine? And so then they're going to start looking. So let's do this. Clear. Let's take 520.
Brian
divided by-
Adams says you won't find him buying himself more work and overpaying on cash rent.
So that's $5.90 per CSR on that one. So almost $6. $6 CSR on that. So $5.90 is the average. So take that times your farm ground, Corey, and then you think you can make it.
No.
Let me look here.
Off the top of my head, no.
Off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm in it to make money, right? Like, okay, so even if I could break even at that point,
Yep.
Why? Why do I want to spend my time? You know, I already spend way too much time away from my family. I already wear my equipment out way faster than it should be. Why do I want that?
Do you think we did have a comment here that actually came from Jason? Jason said, in the grand scheme of Dave's scenario, grandma, wouldn't there be other grandchildren that would wonder why you're only paying a cheap cash rent to grandma when you just bid $520?
Let's just assume he's a single grandchild.
You'd be surprised, though.
But
I
here,
get people
think
all the
about this.
time that are like, hey, what's your cash rent on this? And they're like, oh, we were giving him a deal. It's at $100. I'm like, what?
Right.
There's
But even
lots
then-
of deals.
But I like the perspective of this question because your other landlords, if your other landlords find out that you just paid $520 because it's a public auction, do you think there's going to be any type of a retributional effect that they're going to come to you and say, hey, my $275, I want at least $375, and now all of a sudden the rest of your acre costs have continued
and
to
they're
ratchet
not
up.
wrong in saying that. You're willing to give that. My ground's 88 CSR, and just down the road, you could put manure on that.
Rationality is not as common as we assume.
So it went from Kid Corp to the Gardner Family Revocable Trust, and they paid $2,211,840. $2,211,840 is what they paid for the property, and now they're renting it out. Sale between family members or related parties, from Gardner Family Revocable Trust to the Gardner Family Farms LLC. I don't know where you guys came up with the OBREC portion. The tax records don't show that.
Got it.
The mailing address, they live in California.
So this is the full 178 that you're looking at?
Yes.
What's the 2 million divided by one set? What'd they pay per acre? And let's see what their return on investment is.
So write this number down real quick. Write down 2,211,840.
Got it.
All right. 2,211,840. Basically, it is a 161. What do they got here for tax records?
So 96,872 divided by 2,211,840.
Here.
Am I looking at the same? Am I on the right farm here? 160th and 7/10th.
What was your number,
Is it-
Corey? 96,870.
96,872
Okay.
divided by 2,000,000.
Divided by.
211,840. Is there windmills on it?
No.
You're looking at
You fed me false information. 4.4% return on investment.
Yep. So the average I'd say in Iowa is 2.5.
What was their what they pay per acre? What was that?
I didn't get that one yet.
2,211,840 divided by 178.
Equals 12,426 an acre.
So they didn't go pay top dollar.
No.
I mean,
And that
it's
would have
enough.
been, now that would have been a while ago. Let me get the record back up and I'll show you. So it is at 1/60th and 7/20th there, Tanner.
And 7/20th?
7/20th, yep.
Not 7/10th?
7/20th. Go one more to the east. And there's 3 wind turbines on it. And the report says they transferred that in
So Dave himself, the auctioneer, owns the ground 1 mile directly to the west. So this is where Dave's farm is.
Okay. So it's neighbors.
Neighbors.
Okay. Do we want to run the scenario of
you
say
mean Jeff Obrecht himself?
Right. Jeff, sorry, I said Dave. You
Oh,
Dave.
I was like, if I'm owning ground, where's it at? I'd like
Yes.
to know where this is at.
Dave is an auctioneer.
There is a David Obrecht, down
Yeah.
the road. I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Yeah, Jeff is the auction. And I did talk with Jeff. I called him on this, and I asked him about the auction, and he said, so then there's a persona for auctioneers, okay? Everybody thinks that we're the guys jacking the rent. So did we just jack the rent, or did their fellow farmers jack the rent? Because now if this is public, then everybody's going to say, well, maybe I saw that cash rent auction. You should up your rent, Corey. So,
you gave the avenue
but then everybody looks
for
at
the a-holes to jack the rent.
Correct.
The few bad apples.
But when I sell farmland and I sell it for $20,000 an acre, I don't set the price at $20,000 an acre, but everybody seems to go. So I've actually strategically avoided cash rent auctions.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I have is because I felt that every farmer would be pissed at me and I want to keep them in my good favor. So I haven't done cash rent auctions. If I do, on the farms I manage, I do a sealed bid where it's not public.
Okay, we've got to get into the cost and break-even analysis here because a lot of our watchers are saying that this is plausible and that we are not checking into the facts that this could still make money.
Okay, guys, if you are watching this, whatever platform you're on, where are we getting the questions mainly right now? TikTok?
TikTok and YouTube.
TikTok and YouTube.
I have not logged into Facebook to check.
Please give us some averages of what is your average cost for dry fertilizer this fall? What'd you pay for nitrogen? Maybe seed. I mean, I have some generalities as a farmer, but the more that we get, the more we can average stuff out. I want to know what's going on northwest of this. Why does Heartland Co-op own that little corner? What is that?
And David Obrecht is just north of it. I don't know what that is. Looks like a propane site. Okay. It is. They got a propane cylinder there. Just maybe a site or anhydrous. But
so yes, less than a half a mile from this farm is a multi-barn hog site.
Okay. Is it owned by? Who's that owned by? Do you think that's the people that bid on it?
It's owned by the Obrechts.
Okay.
Teixeira and Obrechts.
What about this one here? What's this?
That's a bale site.
Oh, that's a bale site, not very far away.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
a future bonfire site.
Yes. That's very, very true.
Whoops, it was lightning again.
Whoops.
Yes, let's run the scenario of regular farming. Maybe let's say corn on corn, because I don't think beans are going to make the payment.
Do you want your spreadsheet back up?
What spreadsheet?
That one you made for me?
Oh, you could do that. Yeah, bring that up. I made Dave a spreadsheet probably a month ago.
Yeah, I was looking at buying some farmland.
He wanted to know how the cash flow would be on 70 acres. At how much per acre was that?
11,000.
11,000. He said, how much cash flow would I have on this 11,000 if I paid this and put this much money down? I said, well, it's not much how much cash flow you'd have. It's you need 40,000 to kick in after you sell your crop.
And that's what it ended up. So how much do we have to supplement to buy this ground and break even?
And what kills you is interest, which is supposed to come down 3 times next year, but that's only a max of one or one and a half
would be the max. I don't think they're.
And where are we at? Are we at 8% right now? for
I bet there's very few farms borrowing currently at 8%.
you think it's higher?
Yep.
I
think
heard
my farm credit got moved to 8, 9, or 9.
I heard
or something
that we're
like
going to lower interest rates twice this next year. That the feds have said
2 to
that.
3 times.
Okay.
But that's still only going to get you down to
So like the Wall Street Journal prime rate right now is 8.5, and you will have some borrowers that will be sitting at prime
that.
plus 0.
Yep.
You will have some that are more than likely going to be sitting at prime plus a half. So if you want to use a very conservative number here, I think 8.5% is not a bad way to approach this.
Okay. Have we got any comments on costs?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Not on.
Let's start filling out the spreadsheet.
How about, does anybody think the auctioneer is the bad guy on this one?
We do have one comment. We have nothing priced yet, but my 2023 crop, where everything was around $400 a ton.
Oh, okay. I have some generalities that I threw out here.
We got, yes, Jaeger, Clint, $520 is what the end of that auction was at.
Yep.
Oh, yep. He won? Congratulations,
Congratulations, Clint. You're coming on.
Clint. Coming up to
Coming
God's
up
country.
north.
Coming up.
You know
to
what?
God's
Clint
Hey,
had like a
Don't even travel. We'll custom farm it for you. Make it even
Clint
more
had
feasible.
like a 318 bushel
whole farm?
trophy this year.
Oh.
Like they actually did the yield check and all that. And he
Tanner,
got a big cooler.
you farm not too far north of there on an 84
We farm all the way around it.
CSR. Can I ask what your average bushel yield on that is? I mean, you got 240s, aren't you?
Yeah, I would say corn following soybeans
Okay.
is going to catch that 215 to 255.
Okay.
You know, it's a pretty big window. Of course,
So
the
I'd
farm.
use 225 as your average on that, not the
And we're
178.
225, and it's corn on corn.
Yeah.
Let's just, I mean, for sake of argument,
do it.
let's say it's 240.
Okay.
Say they're just a super farmer and they throw the book at everything.
Yep.
So which means we should probably raise some of the cost I'm going to give you.
Okay.
And
Are you doing the
Maybe.
spreadsheet?
I'll keep a
all
spreadsheet.
right, so let's do the yield and let's establish our cost and let's work our way backwards from there. So 240 times. We got to think forward. We can't think of back at $6 corn anymore. I'm pretty sure if you delivered corn out of the field next fall, you're looking at like 460, 470. Because, I mean, it's like last I looked, it was like 510, and then you're going to have basis. I mean, even your
Now-
local ethanol plant.
How fast could that turn around? We talked the other day. I've heard economists say we go back to $7 really quick, and
I've
it all
also heard them
depends.
say we're going under 4.
I
you
know.
So it's like, I don't think we can deal in what ifs. We have to deal with what the information that we have.
Well, I say we start at what you can get today, and if for some reason it doesn't
Yep.
pencil, then we can ratchet it up. We
So-
can move yield and we can move price.
So what is
actually,
it?
the grain lady says that if you're not protected on acres like this,
Yep.
you're foolish, price-wise.
Never was a fan of protection.
And there's the kids.
Okay, I have
also
240
like them
bushel
dangerously.
yield.
240.
Okay, and you said what for price?
$5.
475.
Okay.
I mean, that's a pretty safe, because even if you sold it right now, your ethanol plants aren't going to give you a good basis
Yep.
for next fall. It might be good by next year.
Are
but
they seeing your screen, Tanner?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
I will share once we get it prettied up.
Gotcha.
So you are looking at total revenue per acre of $1,140.
Yep.
That's your total revenue per acre.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Seed is your first one on the list.
So
I
what-
had it at $100 an acre, but if we're going corn on corn,
So what's the gross income if you just multiply that times the 178.1? Before expenses, can you even break even?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Not much.
203.34.
So how much you got to work with? Take 203.34 minus that 196.
you
Well,
got
no,
100
that's 2 years.
That's 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay. So you,
96.
Your 96 is the one of them. So you've got about 110 grand to play
100,
with.
110 grand to play with.
Yep.
Okay. Let's play with it.
So
Seed,
rain,
let's say
we've got a one skeptic right
Okay.
off the start
Yep.
saying rain makes grain. 240 is even optimistic in a drought. So they're already thinking our 240 might be a little bit high.
So We are giving benefit of the doubt. The soil here in central Iowa actually does better in a drought than I would say in a normal rainfall year.
And what about genetics? I mean, every year I hear every farmer saying, "Oh, it's drought," and they get in the combine. Well, it's better than expected.
I've sold seed for 10 plus years now. Our genetics have gotten better, but I would make the argument the genetics have helped the fringe acres on a much bigger percentage than
the main acres.
The acres right here.
Gotcha.
My dad sold seed in the 80s and 90s, and I've got plot records of him having 200 bushel corn.
Okay.
Then, right?
Yep.
So, like, we're striving for better than that, but sometimes that's all we get.
Okay.
Right? And the reason that is we might grow 300 bushel per acre out in the field on the yield monitor, tell the neighbor, oh, it's 300 bushel. But we have prairie potholes, and if we don't have tile or a way to get rid of it, all of a sudden there's 10 acres of zero.
Gotcha.
Well, and then if it's 10 acres of zero, then you got 5 to 10 acres of 150 because it was affected by too wet.
Yep. Hang with us, Paper Farmer. I appreciate your information. That is going to be valuable as we discuss. Rod, when I said prime is what's considered Wall Street Journal prime in the banking industry. A lot of banks revolve their lines of credit on a basis off of that. So prime plus 1 means prime plus 1%.
Okay.
So 8.5 plus 1% is 9.5. But that would change anytime prime does, and typically prime follows the Fed. So if the Fed goes up a quarter, typically prime goes up a quarter. So just wanted to get that put out there as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we have $1,140 gross income, which we've already got some naysayers saying if you're going to have bins, you need to look further out into the futures market and capture a better price. But we can do that later. Okay. Not a bad thought.
Not a bad thought.
Let's jump into seed costs.
And it only costs you $4,000 to hold it in those bins.
Right.
Well, you know what your price. Yeah, you know what your cost of
which
storage
is nice
is.
because if you were doing commercial storage, it would be 3 to 5 cents per month.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Seed cost, corn on corn, $120 an acre.
Prime does not equal LIBOR. Those are two different indexes. Seeds, $120 an acre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dry fertilizer, let's just do a replacement cost of some.
So you want that as your P and K together?
Yep, P and K, maybe some sulfur, $100, which is pretty probably. I mean, that's removal.
Okay.
You're not going above and beyond at that point.
Yep.
Let's see. What is your next line item? You got nitrogen.
I do have nitrogen. Yes.
The cheapest. So we pre-bought anhydrous for $500 a ton this year. Nitrogen and anhydrous is 82%. So in a ton, 2,000 pounds, it's like 1,640 pounds of nitrogen. It's like 31 cents a pound. That's pretty dang cheap for nitrogen. But if you're going to be growing 240 bushel corn,
what'd you say it was? 500 what per ton?
500 a ton.
Okay.
240 bushel corn. Let's assume a pound per nitrogen, per pound of nitrogen, pound per bushel.
So 240 times 31.
And that is the absolute cheapest you're going to get because as soon as you move to...
So you're looking at $75 an acre.
Yeah, and I would argue no one's doing that. Let's call it $100 because you're probably... What we do is put a little bit of anhydrous. A lot of guys won't use any anhydrous because they don't like it because it kills the soil or they're scared of... Because it's a very dangerous product. If you're going to move to a UAN, a 32% product, you're going to be looking more at a 50 to 60 cents per pound.
Okay.
So arguably... it'll be $120 an acre. Then it depends on how you're applying it. Are you doing it all at once? Are you splitting it up? Because every time you go across the field, it costs you more money.
Gotcha. We're assuming that you're applying it yourself, too. You're not paying the co-op to apply it.
Holy smokes, Dave. You've got Ann's just sent us a bunch of comments here.
We are not paying attention on Facebook, so... We are sorry about that.
Yes, thank you, Ann. We appreciate you. This will be helpful.
We actually need like a team of 5 or 6 people feeding us stuff right here because we do not have enough devices.
Actually, one of these says that we need an audio guy. We need someone to be doing this.
We need an audio guy.
Yep. Well, and I had this thought yesterday. I mentioned it to Tanner. He kind of hawed it.
Drug his feet.
Yeah.
Well, if you could all see, there are 5 cameras. There is a 16-channel soundboard. There's 3 computers. There is. We have the tech. We just haven't. This is kind of Johnny on the spot. So
3 phones.
Okay, so let's get back to this one. Just to summarize, we are looking at $520 an acre for our land costs. We have $120 an acre for seed. Nitrogen's running us at $74.40. Our dry fertilizer fall applied is $100 an acre.
Yep.
Okay.
Fungicide, if you're doing it yourself, this is just. Do you want application plus product?
No, we'll have a machinery value unless you.
Okay.
We'll have a machinery cost in there.
Okay. So, oh boy, I mean, corn on corn, you're going to want to use a fungicide in this area. Typically, you could get by with like a Quilt XL for like $7 an acre, but in all reality, we've kind of found that it's worth it to spend the money on the better product at $15 an acre. So I'd put $14 in there for fungicide.
Okay.
Chemicals. This is a huge discrepancy here. Whether you use the co-op or a cash and carry or all that. What did my spreadsheet have on for chemicals, Dave?
I can do math if you need me to do math.
$50 an acre for corn.
Okay.
Be a little bit more for soybeans. Machinery.
We do have recommendations that they assume they know who the winning bidder is. And they're saying it's the same guy that bought the Pete 379 that went for.
If anyone has that guy's number, I have a Peterbilt that I'm getting ready to list. And
it
I
would
like
match.
Yeah.
Hashtag, they were both on auction. Hashtag auctions
Auctions
work.
work, yeah. I told you he was going to say that.
So you also have crop insurance.
Okay, let's push the machinery down a little bit. We'll go with crop insurance next.
I just threw in $45. I mean, I don't know, 45 plus maybe 15 for hail insurance, $60. I mean, that's also skewed. That could be plus or minus 20% probably. And I have not gotten any quotes for next year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's.
And we used Iowa State's stuff for tillage.
So are we done with actual inputs? You've got your dry fert.
Application and
probably your hard
pesticide.
Yeah, your hard stuff. I mean, we don't have
So are
fuel.
you going to call fuel into your equipment cost?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you want me to add into your equipment costs?
Isn't it about $3.60 an acre, $3.60 on fuel? That's just the number that sticks out in my mind.
It also depends on your tillage and all that kind of stuff, because you'd eat that up pretty quick if you were full tillage.
So my guess is this is the type of farmer that's going to come in with high-speed everything.
Yes, high-speed everything.
He's going to have a high-speed disc. He's going to come in with either that high-speed disc to prepare in the spring, or he's going to hit it with a 70, 80, 65, 70-foot field cultivator and going to run through that.
So it's pretty square. You do have the wind turbines there that you get to use that road if you got semis to load out.
Sure.
But you're not loading very far if you're putting it in those grain bins. But, yeah, like you said, they could come in with a 24-row planter and make it happen or bigger.
Well, yeah, you could high-speed plant this. But either way, that's the type of equipment cost we're looking at. So when you talk fuel, it's going to be a fairly efficient process of farming, you would assume, at this type of a cost.
Does anyone have a good number for what you use on fuel per acre?
So the one that Iowa State said, let me go back one. So
it's $3.40 per gallon, but how many gallons? 3.25 gallons at a cost of $3.40.
So what's 3.25?
What do you got? 3.25
So
times.
it is like $11, $12
times 340.
$11.05.
Yeah, $11.05 is
per
basically.
pass.
No, I think they're saying that would be for total, right?
Okay.
Oh, no, that's for harvest. That is just for harvest. So that's probably grain cart, combine, trucks.
Operating costs.
So, I mean, which arguably is probably one of the, your combine's a pretty big fuel sucker. Tillage, again, but.
Here we go. They have a whole formula here for it. For example, the average amount of diesel fuel required to harvest an acre is 3.25 gallons at the cost of $3.40 per gallon. It's $11.05 per acre. Average fuel consumption in gallons per hour of the remaining tractor round basis. Boy, then PTO horse goes into it, whether it's diesel.
So the Iowa State Ag Decision Maker is saying that they are looking at
Operating costs.
the $110 per acre in harvest machinery.
Is this so? It'd be $55.80 per hour.
I mean, how are you going to break
I don't know
that
how
up?
they're doing it per hour.
That's fuel, repair, fuel, lubrication,
Lubrication,
labor. I mean,
equipment.
and repair is a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you have new equipment, you still got repairs, and parts are expensive, and labor
So, yes,
is.
if we just want to go
$150
off,
an hour.
until we get some quality information here, let's talk Ag Decision Maker. They've got pre-harvest passes running at $28.30 an acre, and they have harvest costs coming in a little bit higher than that. So I will do machinery costs starting with their $28.30 plus. They're saying it's $15.90 for the combine. It's $7.60 for a grain cart, and it's $10.81 for you to truck and handle. But you are also going to run an auger tractor on the farm, and it says that's another $4.41. So they're looking at total machinery costs of $67.
That's just machinery operating costs.
That's correct.
Because you have a whole nother line of machinery costs just divided by your acres of what your payments are, what your depreciation is. I'm assuming someone that's paying $520 an acre probably has a pretty nice updated line of equipment, late model. Maybe not. Maybe that's their key is they got a really low machinery cost.
Or maybe a kid's renting it and he's using his daddy's machinery, his daddy's fuel, and writing it off.
That's nice. We used to try to keep our machinery cost under $70 an acre. Our actual, I haven't ran it this year, but it's got to be pushing 100.
So this just goes to show that everybody's scenario is different. Let me go here.
Oh, there's plenty of ways to skin the cat. That's for sure.
I'm just going to see if it was corn on corn per USDA records.
We need Ted Sheeran to join
Yeah,
and give his opinion.
old Teddy. What's our next line item here?
I have machinery depreciation. So we've got machinery op expense, which includes your fuel.
Yep.
That's at a little over $67
So that would be
an acre.
that would be every pass, assuming you're doing your fungicide spraying, your chemicals, your planting, and your tillage. So that's built into that.
Yep.
Okay. Machinery depreciation that's going to include what you own, lease,
It would basically be
Own
what
outright.
you would assume.
your payments.
Yep. You would assume across the board. So if you're talking Dave's scenario and you've got a 5,000 acre farmer, would you make an assumption that 5,000 acre farmer owns $3 million worth of equipment?
How much your combine? 700,000. So combine tractors,
If you're
what?
buying new, yeah.
250 for a tractor. Probably got a smaller utility tractor, another 160. Tillage equipment,
250
planters.
don't get you a new tractor anymore.
What's your planner? 180, 200,
325.
300. Yeah, you'll have 2 million easy just in the normal stuff. So 3 million probably.
Okay, so that comes out to be $85.71 per acre.
Side note: I did look up USDA records. It has been corn and beans. So 21, it was corn, then beans, then corn, then beans, back and forth. So they've been rotating.
So if we come in at $85.71 per acre, machinery depreciation, we do have feedback here. A combine, an X9, potentially has a depreciation of $1,800 per hour if you bought it new.
Wow.
Okay,
It's like driving a new truck off the lot. There went 20 grand.
But let's call it $85.
Not anymore. It goes up in price.
And 71 cents, because we have to think about this realistically, right? I ran my depreciation schedule off of 7 years.
Okay.
Most of these farmers are going to Section 179
deduct.
and max that out,
Yep.
which is going to accelerate that depreciation. Now, when they go to sell it and trade it, they have to recapture and improve. So I think the 7-year figure would be fairly accurate. Now, when you look at Ag Decision Maker, they have labor at 2.8 hours per acre.
Okay.
What do you think a fair wage?
25.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
That is $27.80. So one can make an assumption. We will run this with an interest cost.
How's 25 times 2? 27.8
2.8.
25 up.
2.8 hours
per acre
per acre. Yep.
times 25. You have plus 25.
Oh, I've got a plus. Good catch.
There you go. $70.
$70.
Bankers.
Bankers.
Trying to make it work. Got these guys putting this together.
$70 an acre in labor. Whew, that feels like a lot.
So what's your interest for?
I mean,
Your equipment?
No, your interest is going to, I'm just basing this off your operating note. So if you need to make an early pay discount in order to get your seed purchased, if you need to buy the fertilizer prior to you putting it on, whether you're going to finance it at the dealer or you're going to finance it, for our calculations, I'm using prime, 8.5%.
So this is a whole different scenario. Do you think that 5,000 acre operators getting, in your history, are they getting an operating note, or did they have cash in hand from last year?
Did you ask that question to me or to Corey?
Or what percentage?
Historically, rich people
use
other people's money.
That's correct.
Even though they have it in their bank. Now, in a high interest scenario, maybe.
I mean, that's the reason. The tractor I bought last year is because the guy said, operating note. He said, screw that. I'm going to sell one of my tractors and use my own money because now the interest rates were too high. They did not want to leverage their operating note.
So I would argue that there are a significant number of operators that can operate cash only.
Okay.
So we'll run both scenarios.
Okay.
But I would say there is probably 60% of the farmers in this area that are probably operating on cash only.
Oh, okay.
Or using subsidized dealer financing where maybe it's 0% for 3 months and then it goes to 6, or maybe it's a short window of time.
Yeah, you get 0% on seed for up to for a year or whatever, stuff like that.
But if you run off of our costs, right now we have costs not including your land cost. Because when's rent due?
Yeah, when's rent due, Dave?
It is, it's 20% was down on December 31st this year, but let me get there.
So we've got $626 an acre for our other costs. And if I run that $626 an acre for 3/4 of a year.
Payment due March 1st, 2024.
So I actually need to include.
Up front.
I need to include the $520 because you're probably going to have to float that as well. But for now, we won't. We won't include any interest.
And you're only paying year to year. So March 1st,
let's assume they're partial cash and they have that on hand.
Yep. So if that's the case, we're running just shy of $40 an acre in interest.
Okay.
So if you add these total costs up, not including land,
you guys staying with us?
They are. Oh, shoot, my phone went off.
So $666.44.
Change a number so it's not that.
Yeah, we will do that.
It's lucky. You should be there. Now.
They get $40 of interest.
With the land.
So based upon our...
Hey, you're almost making money. Breaking even
We're
almost.
not as far as one would think.
So we have, without land costs, $666 an acre. And then if you add your land costs in, it comes into $11.86, which based upon $240 bushel per acre at $4.75, you present yourself with a $46.05, so $46 loss.
Now your land cost did not include the grain storage.
My land cost did not. It's at $520.
It's at $520.
Oh,
yep.
He didn't include the extra $4,260.
So we can do that.
We can add that as a line item for just storage.
Yeah, just storage and just storage. Grain storage would be $4,260.
Pull up your calculator, dude.
Okay.
I got it here. Oh, you're doing that for him.
46.
So what was it, 4,260?
Yes, correct.
Divided by 178.1. So that's just shy of $24 an acre. So now your loss is $71 an acre.
Oh. Divided by 46.05 times, what'd you say, 71? 71.49.
71.49.
So a good question came across this. There's some really great discussion going on in the comments.
$12,732 loss a year
For the whole farm.
at 240 though. I mean, so now we can start kind of manipulating stuff around.
Yeah, if corn goes up to $7, you're making money.
If they had manure,
So here,
you
so
had-
let's go through the comments before we dive into this.
Okay.
Right. So where we sit today, or where we sit at this point in the conversation, 240 bushel yield, $4.75 price. We have a net margin of negative $71 per acre. When we look through the comments, we have comments here stating that this might be a high labor cost. If you have a 5,000 acre farmer and you are $70 an acre, that's a $30,000 month labor bill. In theory, you're probably running 5 guys year round, trucking grain.
if they're just a grain farmer, I don't think they're running 5 guys, 5,000 acres. I mean, you could probably get by with.
So that's $350,000.
I suppose. Maybe 2 head honchos and 2 hired hands.
So, Corey, I'm thinking, not to interrupt your thought process here while you're thinking that, but, you said, why would you do this? So we've shown a $71 loss per acre.
Yep.
Okay. A $12,700 loss on the total farm. Why would you do it? Farming has ebbs and flows. We're up, we're down. I mean, land prices have been to 30,000 and they've been back to 4,000, right? So it's always a long-term hold game. So maybe the long-term hold people are thinking, let's get in. Yep. Let's build a relationship. Let's explain to the tenant why we're good. We got in on the cash rent auction. We're not necessarily going to lower costs next year, but the hope is that maybe corn goes up. Yep. Maybe our inputs go down, and now we are making money. And all I'm thinking is generational farming. I'm thinking, I have the wherewithal to do it. I want my kids. So your dad's doing this for you. Now your dad's like, hey, now we're farming more acres, so that now you're able to take on a farm too. There's a little bit more. So when we think auctions, there's emotion in auctions.
Yep.
There might be more emotion here that we're not seeing past. I mean, even when we buy farmland, it doesn't pencil out, but yet people do it all the time. Why?
It's a great point. We do have a comment here. We didn't include any living costs.
Right. Well, who does that?
You don't need to make money.
Well, I mean, you don't have any management cost unless you're going to throw that into labor. Like, what are you paying yourself?
Right. So that's probably where the labor factor comes in, because we are getting quite a bit of feedback on, that's $1,000 a day in labor expenses.
Okay.
So if I put $350,000 in there, because that's 5,000 times 70.
Okay.
$350,000 in labor. That's either 5 guys at $75,000 salary, or you can mess around with that any which way. So if you've got 2 head honchos that want to glean $100,000, now you have 3 others at $50,000. So I really don't think it's too far out of the realm of things when you look at overall operation.
Could it be done with 3 people? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely could.
Well, and hired hands when you need them.
With the equipment and all that kind of stuff now, and autonomy coming, very, very easily could be done.
One of the good points that came in here is, do you see tenants ever sign up anticipating to lose money? And I think no was after the ... So this tenant is probably not signing up.
I don't know.
Thinking they're going to lose
Someone made
money.
the comment on one of these posts that it is a hedge, like Dave just said. It's like, so $12,732 a year loss. I don't know about you guys, but I've spent $12,730 on some pretty stupid stuff that did not pan out, didn't make me any money.
Yep.
Would be a loss. Those jacks, things like that. Like I've lost some dang money. Like if you got a little money, like you're willing to spend it to, like you said, somewhere down the line. If stuff goes to hell in a handbasket, you got your foot in the door, and you can negotiate it down. You have the acres.
What about if they put? I don't know the answer to this. If you put tile on if you share cost tile with the landlord, and they're going to tile this out, are they just maybe they're looking for the depreciation because they're making enough money on their other farm?
Right.
Maybe they're looking for the depreciable asset,
Telling
and
you what,
or
if I paid $520 an acre, the landlord is paying for the frickin' tile, because or they better be.
Yeah.
That was, so one of our early questions
that
was
would
about
be-
who pays for
yeah.
the tile on this. But
Gotcha.
I've been sharing this spreadsheet for
Okay.
a while, so everybody is now up to speed
gotcha.
on our numbers.
Let's just run a couple. Just go up and change the yield. Like go to do 217 Story County average.
You're kind of an Excel wizard. You're a freak in the sheets.
I am a freak in the sheets.
What are you doing there to match your width? Oh man.
Secret.
So yesterday we were doing electrical in here, and you were making fun of me because all the screws had to be facing the same way, but all your cells need to be the same width.
Exactly the same way.
Okay,
And
so
then he left one. All the screws were going all different
Cattywampus.
directions. I'm like, you did this on purpose.
You did it.
but I did it in a pattern.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was in a pattern.
was
All right, so go 215 yield.
250.
217.
Now we lose 32,000.
Ooh, now we're starting
Okay,
to hurt.
now go $5 corn on the next one with 240.
43.75, 4.75.
So what did you say? $5 corn?
Yeah, just $5 corn, same yield, just there. Now we're only losing $2,000.
Yep. So if we look at this,
So they're hedging that 525.
no, it's even lower than that.
So 515. If they get 515 bushel, if they're bullish in the markets, or they're going to hold it until they get 505 corn, they're going to
Let's run a manure sample.
At 240 bushel to the acre, they can make a cash flow break even at 505.
Okay.
505 cash corn sales.
You got internet? Let's pull up. Let's go to Heartland Co-op. They have good bids right on their main page.
Which is interesting because when we go back to one of our very first comments, 235 at 510 works. Like this was early on.
Yeah.
One of the first, actually, Paper Farmer said that. So he wasn't too far off based upon our cost. 235 at 510, I believe, would do that. So if we went 235, 510,
Your May bid.
actually presents a little bit of a loss.
For your 2024 crop, your best bid that you're going to get in 2025 right now looks like 524 and a half. So 505 is within
because
reality.
you could get down to a 20-cent
Oh
basis or
yeah,
less.
especially, and this is close to an ethanol plant. You could get down to Lincoln Way, which doesn't have the best bids, but they are there. Or you could go up to Iowa Falls.
So if you got 525, do you make money? About how much?
At 525?
Yeah.
But that's not cash.
No.
You
Right,
still got to
'cause
take
you
your
gotta have
basis
basis.
off of that.
But they could have an even basis, especially in July, possibly. They could have a positive basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have a 10 or 15 cent positive basis. It depends on, supply and demand. That's your local supply and demand.
Now, you guys don't figure any of this because farmers are just dumb guys in coveralls, right?
Who wears coveralls?
So Corey wants to do one where he has hog manure to put on there.
Yep.
Well, there's two scenarios that kept getting thrown around. It's got to be the manure people. It's got to be someone with livestock. They got to have a place to go with the manure. And
Yep.
I will tell you, last year when fertilizer was out of this world, for $110 an application, which is high for us because we truck it up to 6 miles,
Okay.
I ran the number on commercial fertilizer, NPK, sulfur, and some micros for $10, $20 an application. I had $450 worth of commercial equivalent
Oh, wow.
out there. Not a normal situation, but that definitely helped. Getting stuffy in here.
You need to bulge your net margins at the bottom.
Bulge?
Bold them.
Oh.
Make them bold.
Did I spell
gold?
yield right? I
No.
before E?
I.E. Bulgy like a moose.
I can do math. I can't spell.
Yeah. Find and replace.
County yald.
You don't even have to.
Yald? Yield? No. It's wrong. There you go. It's like the Yuletide log.
There you go.
Okay. County yield, baseline.
So you got on the far right there, he's got 240 yield. And this is fertilizer scenario. hog manure. So what are you going to replace your P&K with? Just zero it out, Corey?
Yep. You're going to zero it out for just an application cost. And you're going to take your nitrogen, probably not to zero, but I would cut it by 75% and then put on a 25% of commercial just to even things out. It's probably a pretty average scenario.
Here's a fun fact for everybody that's watching. Totally nothing to do with farming. But if you've never used the format painter in the upper left-hand corner of Excel, it's fantastic. If you want the same kind, style, everything, use format painter.
Okay, so you said
Take it down
take
20.
P&K down to zero, and
Yep.
now your nitrogen you're going to supplement at $25 an acre?
Sure.
Okay. And then
Because you are getting your application costs covered in that.
That is basically, okay, so now we need to add,
and you had to go somewhere
now we
with
need
it.
to add another line for manure application.
Yeah, because you have to have that equipment too. Costs
But
you more
yeah,
money.
we're going to say that we're hiring it done. And we'll
Man
call
and
that
nuts.
$75.
So we didn't gain anything really.
Yeah, we did. We took nitrogen from 75 to 25, and P&K is gone.
Okay. So our nitrogen that was at 74.
Yeah, you gain $12,000, 13, because you're the same scenario as the far left, which would be negative 12,700, and now you're positive 13.
Yep.
So you're at $13,000.
And I would argue it might not be in the first year, but your yield with manure, with all the extra micros and the organic matter, should go up.
Okay.
Probably to 250. An extra 10 bushel. From my experience.
All right, let's hit. What about tax losses benefiting a tax position?
Yep.
You do potentially get a 35% discount if you take a loss on those acres off the revenue. Again, we don't like the idea of merging all of this together. We want to make every acre pay. Corporate America will tell you you need a 30% ROI to maintain business and size, possibly to grow.
A 30%?
In business. Corporate America will say you want a 30% ROI. You want a 30% margin.
We can't all be like Dave's business.
Now we do see we're not even looking at margin here because we do have our pay in
Yep.
the labor column. So
Okay.
there is money that's coming out of this in the labor area. We do have a couple other fans of format painter as far as that goes.
All right, good. Mhm.
Okay. So another scenario that's been requested is if you have a debt-free farm. I think you could run that scenario very simply. You just take out, as this sheet is shared here, the $41.44 per acre. That itself, just adds another $40. So if you are running the baseline and you take out $40 an acre, you're still losing $30.
He said a debt-free farm?
Debt-free farms, there'd be no interest.
So
It's Dave Ramsey's farm.
I got you. I was
You would
curious if
still have your machinery depreciation.
I didn't know if he was referring to like you owned the farm free and clear, then take out the land cost too.
Nope.
Because you're paying the $520 for rent.
Correct.
Another good point was our runner-up bidder was willing to bid $500.
Yep. Correct.
So at that point, there were two farmers that believed at $500 an acre,
It was worth the juice was worth the squeeze,
Yep.
boys.
So I don't think it's as far cry as we were anticipating, but we have not generated a significant margin. All of our models are either break even or less than $10 an acre.
So do a whole new one.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a scenario too, but then now that's going to bring in beans to the situation. That's seed corn.
So do you want me to create a whole
Take-
new sheet?
Take
We
I
can
don't
just
think
start.
you
This is being recorded, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So just start
Just start moving over. You're good.
moving over, or yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What's your scenario, Dave?
My scenario is so landowners is who I get to talk with, not necessarily the operators. I get to talk with the operators, but the landowners want to know, hey, what should I be charging? Ag decision maker. They read Iowa State, and it normally is a little lighter than they hear, but then they hear at the coffee shop, and they're not doing all these breakdowns, and so they might hire a farm manager. And what their tenant's telling them is, well, I can only make it work at $300 an acre on farms like this. I'm arguing that you probably rent farms similar quality, size, shape, everything for around that $300 an acre. What does it look like if they only paid $300 for cash rent?
Well, I'm also going to tell you the numbers that we are using here. That's 240, even 217.
Yep.
I don't know how a farmer can run numbers on that. You have your own APH, your annual production history. It's an average of 10 years that you've done. We've gone through the derecho. We've gone through 2012. Well, that's out now, but that was a drought year. We've had several years of too wet. If you have a 217 bushel APH on every single farm,
Yeah.
and then you only get 85% of that crop insurance, that is your subsidized hedge, right?
Right.
That's what you can't go under. We can get into subsidies and all that later, whatever. But I can't use these numbers for my cash flow. Farm Credit is not going to let me use these numbers for cash flow.
So just to be clear for the people that are listening that might even be on my feed that are not farmers, when you say everybody thinks that you get mailbox money from the government.
Yeah.
Okay. You're talking a crop protection insurance.
That's what the federal crop insurance is subsidized.
Correct. So crop insurance is what it's only if there's a disaster.
Instead of that $45 an acre, if it wasn't subsidized, would be like $100 and some dollars.
So you're not just getting a check for $50,000 a year from the government then?
No.
Only if
we have a loss.
I got you. So Tanner left us. You're gonna have to. Well, you can't even adjust his spreadsheet. But at that one, instead of $520 an acre,
it's the second.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it looks like if say you're renting that at $300.
This one here?
Go down one more to $520 right there. Change that to $300. So if you were renting that same farm at $300, you made $26,000 for the year. So and you're paying yourself in that too. You're paying for your time. So not only did you pay for your time and break even, you made
at $240
at 300.
Yes, but at 240 yield.
Correct.
So let's say
which 240
let's say we have a 210. Pull your calculator up.
Okay.
Say we have a 210 bushel APH, which is a pretty respectable APH in Story County, I would say.
Okay.
Times 85%, 0.85.
Nope. Hold on. Okay. 210 times 0.85. Got it.
$178. So that's what I'm working with on my cash flows. Like that's my bottom.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. What scenario did you want run?
He's got it up there. You just need to retitle it. This one, it says land cost at $300. This is if it was a $300 cash rent. If that's all it got, which I'm going to argue there's a lot of guys out there. A couple of my farms that we manage, we're at about $400 cash rent. So they're making money. They're making $26,000 an acre. You're making the argument that your preventative loss is 178 bushel. I'm going to make the argument, you know what happens if I don't book a farm? There's no preventative loss. I make zero.
Right.
I make zero, and I still put money out for advertising. I still put money out to pay the lights, to pay for the equipment, to pay my employees. So this is the argument that people have against farmers, is that you're getting subsidized with a base. I'm not being negative on farmers that are watching, but
217.
But I don't have any hedge. I can tell you that, other than my own savings account.
Right.
If it's a bad year,
you also don't have the overhead of the tractors and the inputs. You do have some.
Yep.
But not in the million. You don't have $3 million.
Correct. But
that you're trying to
it depends
protect.
on your business. My business, no. But if let's say you were selling farm machinery, you might have, $2 million in a building, loaders, people, etc. You still have overhead that you got to cover, and there's still no protection.
So $300 per acre rent, 217 is the Story County average. 85% of that is 184 and a half.
So you want 184?
Yep.
So if you're running your 184 at 475, $300 an acre rent, you are losing $117.49 an acre.
Or $20,000 a year. Yep.
On 178 acres.
On that farm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm not about to go lock in. I'm going to bet on myself that I'm going to race better than my APH or better.
Okay.
But we're at the will of the weather.
Yep.
Right? I can't do anything about that. I can do everything else on this spreadsheet perfectly. If the weather comes in and the derecho blows all my corn flat, we have a mega drought because our subsoil moisture sucked out the last 3 years.
But couldn't you make that argument that that's any business with the exception of maybe funeral? People always die, so they always have a market. You don't know how, your paycheck depends on the weather and the clock. My paycheck depends on the markets, people calling, people passing, people, everything has their deliverables of what it is, with the exception of haircuts. Everybody needs a haircut, I guess, and everybody needs a funeral if they die. So,
to an extent, but I mean, a drought isn't going to wipe out your business.
No.
Or, a straight line wind isn't going to flatten it might flatten your building.
Correct.
But you have insurance on that.
Yep.
And so it's just a different scenario. It might take out all your grain storage. It might take out your shed with all your tractors in it. And you have insurance on that, but it's a tough thing to figure out.
But let's pretend you didn't have that loss protection. So like PLC or Ark County, and you had a derecho, you'd be bankrupt in a year, wouldn't you? If you had no protection, you didn't get, if any of your fields went down, how long would it take you to not, like, just for the
I would argue that
people?
most farmers don't have that, self-insurance fund sitting in their account. Maybe they could take one crop loss.
One crop loss. But if you lose, like, back in the day, I'm thinking like, 1920s, they didn't have any crop protection. And if they lost it, they were just done.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I mean, this is a whole nother show.
Yep.
I do want to do a show sometime to break down subsidies, why. I want to get someone in here that's very, very smart, a lot smarter than us, that can talk on why or why not.
Okay.
But I do feel like, the larger, it's just like everything else. The larger the farmer, the more subsidies, all that kind of stuff. What would it be like if the playing field was leveled and we didn't have any subsidies? Like, I feel like I'd be fine because I'm a winner. I'm going to freaking win. I'm going to find a way to win, no matter what. If we all had the same tools in front of us.
Yep.
Okay. I know you've been having a good discussion. Do you want to interject some comments
Sure.
into this? So I added another scenario because there are crops that provide a premium. Obviously, you can't go directly into an organic crop.
Yep.
But you could do white corn. In
Sweet
certain
corn.
areas, you could do sweet corn. You could do seed corn.
Yeah.
You could also do waxy corn. So we don't have a white corn market. That's what the suggestion in the comments
There's a
was
little
about.
bit of one over in Cedar Rapids.
What is organic, though? They're getting 11.
Can't do organic. This isn't going to be certified organic
Correct.
by the time you need to be able to produce it. So either way, if we put the 80 cent per bushel premium in for the white corn example, we left it at the 240 and the 475. You now actually make $120 an acre. That's just with the premium crop. So if you have the ability to grow a premium crop that gets you an incentive, there is margin there.
Here's a scenario. I don't know the answer to this. What does the average farmer want to make per acre?
There's no way. Because my answer, Corey's answer, your answer is all going to be different. You're going to have an Iowa State University survey.
We need a survey on that.
When you were at the bank,
what was
the target?
What was the target?
$50 an acre, $100 an acre?
It was fascinating. I think it was more based around a total living. So whether you had 1,000 acres or you had 5,000 acres or you had 400, I think it was more of a target. People wanted that 65,000 to 85,000 for a wage.
I mean, if you had a 2,000 acre farmer and they say they wanted to make $100 an acre, it's $200,000
of income.
So I would,
which sounds like great for a single family income, maybe. But like if you got multiple mouths feeding off,
like your family farm,
we got 3 people, 3 families.
Yep,
3 families, not 3 people.
Multiple generations, but 3 families.
So that's not going to be enough.
So
but not 3 single income families.
Right.
Every member of families.
But how many farms are set up with that is the sole, the wife stays at home or, and takes care of the kids or, picks up shifts in town or something. But not everyone has the good jobs like we do. That's, we're really close to Des Moines. We have really good jobs and availability, plus the health insurance side of things.
So if you guys are watching on my Facebook feed, this is what a Farm for Profit podcast looks like. If you have not gone to our podcast page, it's Farm, the number 4, Profit, and it's on any streaming platform for podcasts. Today, we just did a live stream to discuss this cash rent auction that just happened in Story County, Iowa, and $520 an acre. We're streaming on a bunch of different platforms here, but for you guys on my Facebook feed, probably haven't seen this this side of what we do.
So this is more comments that are coming in here. We do have a question on our thoughts. If there wasn't crop insurance, do we feel we would still see a $520 an acre cash rent bid?
Ooh, good question. because then you're not protected. Now
No.
you're all risk.
But we're not protected fully anyway at this level.
Correct.
But it does minimize your risk.
But I'll make the
loss.
argument that while you're thinking about this, I'm thinking of buying a $1.5 million building to take a risk to sell more farm machinery in addition to my building. I'm taking 100% of the risks. There is no base that I get half of that back or a quarter of that back. Nobody says that I'm going to be able to sell this much equipment. I'm doing all of my numbers when I'm figuring investing or borrowing for this $1.5 million building in place that I need to sell at least 5 auctions a year that make, $1.5 million. And, we have a revenue stream of what that looks like. There is no protection base, not to say that farmers are counting on that.
The difference in that scenario is you're buying a $1.5 million building.
Have the real estate.
You have a hard asset.
That's
correct.
correct.
You have the land and a building. If you're willing to pay that, maybe you overpaid a little bit. Someone might be able to come in and they might buy it for $1.25 million.
Okay.
You know, right? So like you have it's risky, very risky.
Correct.
Yes, but
you can always
you're
sell
not
the
going
asset.
back to zero.
Yeah, you're going back to zero.
You go to 520 and you have no subsidized crop insurance. You have no insurance, no hedge, whatever, and you have a complete crop failure. You're back to zero. So you lost 193.
Whole nother episode, Tanner. You're gonna have to plan this one.
I know. And it is interesting as you look through this. Another one of our comments is Jared McDaniel, friend of the podcast, said that rent cost is similar to his irrigation costs. Now, their land cost is much lower.
Low. Yep.
But they're looking at all the break-even numbers that we had displayed and adding a variability for their irrigation costs.
Gotcha.
Which irrigation is a hedge.
Yep.
Right? Like it's.
Mike Burkhart says, bottom line, there is a farmer out there that would look at your numbers and realize that they are working with a different set of numbers and a different income goal than we could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could easily manipulate these numbers, massage them around. You might. Like one person said, don't put any fertilizer on because our soils are so great. Would you be fine? Probably. I don't know if it's in the lease agreement.
Yeah, it didn't say. I have basics on mine, though. All of mine have minimums that we have to put,
you got to put
for
your
P&K.
removal rate.
Yep. Good friend of ours and Dave's, James Rothermick, put a scenario out here for us to mull over. A farm in December in north central Iowa sold for $21,000 an acre. The 2024 cash rent on this farm is $255 an acre, payable half March, half September. Is this fair to that landlord?
So he's saying the reverse scenario. They paid a whole lot for the land, and they're getting half as much cash rent. So this is, I guess my one answer to that is that landlord, it's your responsibility to make as much as you want on that. If maybe they're looking for the loss. Maybe they're looking to show that they have a loss on that to compensate their other income that they're making in Wall Street.
Maybe that's grandma.
Maybe it's grandma just renting to the kid,
right.
And they had the cash, and now they're giving it to the son-in-law or the whoever. But that's where it's your job as the landlord to, I'm going to say, make sure that you're educated and getting the correct cash rent. If you don't know, then that's where you call a farm manager. And that farm manager, now a lot of farmers don't like farm managers. They're like, all he did was jack my cash rent and jack it up. Most farm managers that I know, what we do, farm management is communication. I'm the conduit between the farmer and the person that maybe doesn't know as much about farming. I'm the conduit in the middle to help have an educated conversation, just like we're having here, of, hey, that guy's not making as much as you think he's making. If you charge him $520, it's not going to be a good year for him. And maybe we're more realistic down here. Maybe that person that bought that $21,000 farm ground didn't have that conversation and just set a rate because they saw it on some website somewhere that said, this is what you need to charge.
I think most people should be civil, right? Like, can we come up with a scenario that 520 works? Yeah, but you're having probably the best year you've ever had farming. You know, the weather's perfect. You got things bought right. You manage stuff right. Why be pinned? Why can't there's got to be some ground in the middle where, hey, you're making a really good return on your investment here, and I've got room to not have the best. And that's why I like flex leases. Right? Yep. Like started a respectable rent that is a good return. And then, hey, guess what? If the year was good, prices was good, weather was good, we'll share in the cream, right? Above. Or do a 50-50.
So as we think about where we're sitting here, because we are about an hour and a half into this.
I don't see anything on the preliminary lease that talks about, it does talk about grain storage, pest control. Tenant agrees to periodically put out rat poison in the grain bins.
Wow.
Oil and gas is included, that basically minerals run with the land, but there's nothing about minimums for putting on any fertilizer that I see in the current proposed lease that's out there on his website.
Okay, so back to our comment section. It was brought to our attention that if you make more than $900,000 a year, you are not eligible for crop insurance. And a 5,000-acre farmer would need various different entities in order to farm those acres. It'd be, as an individual, as an LLC, in order to get that done. So wanted to point that out so we don't get a bunch of hate in our comments. A couple of farmers put in here what their target percent return. We saw one that was 10 to 30%. We saw one that had a target of $85 an acre.
Okay.
That dollar per acre is quite interesting. We saw someone here that said they wanted a $90,000 salary. Yep. So those are some of the comments that are coming in on that side of things.
Which, and 5 years ago, $90,000 was a lot of money, and now it sounds,
like a pickup.
It doesn't sound like
go
like
buy
as much.
Go buy a brand new one. I can tell you.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm wondering, help me out on my side for any of you people that are commenting. Would you have gave more if it was a 1-year lease? Would you have gave more if it was a 5-year lease? So as I'm trying to help educate my people, I want long-term tenants and land stewardship. That's the whole point here. And even in their agreement, it said that they have to agree to who the renter is on this. So it wasn't just top dollar. Okay. We argue all the time that, you wouldn't want to cash rent your auction because it's just top dollar. But if you're willing to go for 5-year spread, I'm going to argue that it's not maybe just top dollar, that you are looking to add this to your portfolio, and it might be a pretty good tenant. Is there a thought process to that? Would you give more if you knew you had that guaranteed, and you could average over those 5 years if it's good 1 year, bad another year?
Knee jerk is no, because it's the unknown.
Okay.
Right? Like,
we don't know the
next
future markets.
year we could be at $2.50 corn.
Okay.
We could be at $7 too. I mean,
so do you think he did good doing 2 years, or should he went? What are most of your leases? Are they multiple year leases or single?
I do some multiple year, but a lot of times it's like just a 1 year kind of evergreen. Just kind of gets renewed every year.
And for those that don't know, in Iowa, if you do not renew your lease, it automatically renews every year to the same terms and conditions that you had the previous year.
We did have a comment in here that they said less money the longer the lease is.
Oh,
is
really?
What they'd be willing to pay. Too much unforeseen risk.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'd rather have a short. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, here comment states you can't have all three of these. You can't have a long-term renter, the highest cash rent, and your ground taken care of. You can't have all three of those.
Yeah, it is.
What
kind
is it?
of a triangle.
You can't have good, quick, and cheap.
Yeah. Something like that.
You get one
of them.
Fast, easy, and beautiful. Or what was it? Can't remember what those were.
Cool's not cheap, and cheap's not cool.
Yeah.
But I overall, my opinion of it is, can it be done? Yes. I personally, in my opinion, I don't think it's healthy. Can it be done? Yes. But it just incentivizes too many bad things, right? Like the landlord deal, like your other landlords, like,
Or are all the other farms just underpriced right now?
No, I don't think so. There's probably some that are.
I'm going to go back to buying a truck. If inflation happened, it did. Okay, now we're paying way more money for vehicles. I use this scenario all the time. Will we ever go back to $30,000 to buy a pickup? No, because the environment said, hey, we're willing to pay that much. Nobody in their right mind is going to back off what that costs. Same with cash rent. That's the bad thing.
This is a commodity, high dollar, low margin business, though.
Yep.
I don't think so. If I have to pay $520 for any of my ground, let alone all of it, I'm getting the hell out of farming, and I'm going to do something else because I can make more money working at McDonald's for $25 an hour, or go work for one of these mega farms that is paying that, run the tractors, go home at night, not think about my job because I'm not running a business and trying to,
strength and
trying
simplicity.
to market my grain and all that. So
it's interesting is, as I, obviously I've been in a unique position sitting here monitoring comments, trying to make sure our feed doesn't go down, and the perspectives that are being shared is awesome. because we've got some that say now they're catching up to that comment about they wouldn't go more for longer.
Okay, yeah.
But they would look at the board. And if they could take a position on the board, they would feel better about that, knowing their only risk would be out on inputs. And
Okay,
even then, on
yeah.
some inputs, you could book far enough out or not know how well. I'm reading in between the lines on a TikTok comment that potentially you could order 2 years worth of seed to this year if
Oh.
you had the proper condition in order to store it, if you had a fear that one type of commodity would be more expensive next year.
And we never even did do your soybean scenario, but if you're going to rotate crop this year, you might make money one year, but you're not the next.
All right, let's do that real fast before we wrap this up because
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's going to stick around much longer. It's a great discussion. I think there's a lot of value to
Should
what
we put this out as an episode, as a Farm for Profit episode? We can call it a Farm for Fun show because Tanner wants some more Farm for Fun shows. I mean, and at 520, it might just be farming for fun.
No, we just proved that you could potentially be
Potentially,
farming for
but
profit.
there's a lot of scenarios you potentially could lose money.
you
so
could
that's,
make a profit.
That's farming for fun.
Maybe we need a new series, farming for loss instead of profit. Maybe
That's what the farming for fun was.
yeah.
When we started that, it was like, hey, well, not every year is farming for profit.
That's
Sometimes
right.
we just farm for fun because we enjoy it.
All right, let's go back to our board here.
Okay, so I've got it now.
What's your bids on?
We should be sharing what we've got going on. So I've created a soybeans tab here. When you go back to
There you go. There you go.
we have to talk. People like noise on a podcast. So as you go back to the Iowa State average
I'm going to
for
say 50,
District 5.
50 bushel an acre.
District 5, Story County for
60, I
soybeans
think is
says
what it
high
is.
third was 60,
Was it?
average
Okay.
was 54. So let's go
I
with
was gonna say.
60.
Average is 54. Okay, so
Okay.
60.
60 bushel ain't going to pay for much.
No.
Okay, what are you looking at for price? We can store the grain, remember?
Yep. So new crop 24 would be 1260 on the board. Gosh, there ain't much carry. If you went to July, 1270 of 2025, 1270. So, and you're probably looking at a basis locally, like you'd probably have to go to Iowa Falls from
you
there
need a zero in
or
there.
ADM. Let's just say 30 cents
Okay.
negative.
So you're looking at $12.40. So your
Yep.
total revenue compared to corn, your baseline for corn,
Yep.
let's insert that here for our listeners to see where we were sitting at. This is definitely going to be a show, if it does go out as a podcast, that you are going to want to
Watch.
watch on YouTube.
Yeah. We have to talk through this stuff.
Maybe you can screenshot that and I'll throw it on my Facebook feed.
This is all opinions.
Yes.
This is no.
No, Corey's
Recommendations.
full of crap. This is absolutely, he's the highest bidder.
I was on here, and you guys watched me not. I don't have a device in front of me to click bid. I wouldn't pay that if it was right out my back door.
Okay, so as we're playing with this, we have our corn revenue per acre was $1,140.
Yep.
Soybeans is $744. So you immediately took $400 an acre off.
But does it take a whole lot less than inputs?
It does.
Okay.
Yep. So go ahead,
And
Corey.
then- so let's just assume.
Here we go.
Let's assume. Okay, let's run the soybeans into the manure scenario.
Okay.
So I would argue that you could put.
What's your seed cost?
$70.
So right away, manure. Let's raise our yield to 70.
Okay. 70 bushel beans.
Okay.
$70 for seed.
Yep.
Okay. We don't have any nitrogen costs.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Do you have any
Not
fertilizer?
I'm going to say you put enough on the year before with your manure. You probably don't need to.
Okay. You're still going to make a fungicide
Keep your
application?
fungicide. Chemicals, I would argue, is going to be higher. What I have there. Just bean chemicals are more money.
47. Fungicide application.
70. I had $75.
75.
Okay. Crop insurance, going to be roughly the same?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Storage, same cost across that. Now, our machine costs, when we go and look at
Yeah.
soybeans following corn,
Should be less.
we were running $28.30. It's coming in at $24 for spring application, $24.10. And then it has our harvest, where it's $10.10 for a soybean acre, plus our grain cart, which is going to come in at $7.60, still the same.
Still the same.
And then our hauling is $3.45.
A little less.
And the handling is $1.40. So we took our machinery cost for across operating down at from $67 to $47.
Is there anybody that writes a lease that alternates, that if they know you're going to make less on soybeans, that it costs less for cash rent that year? So let's pretend $240 and then $520 and then $240 and then $520. Like, have we ever had a lease like that? Or do they just plan on the farmer averaging the good with the bad?
If they're out for the highest dollar, why wouldn't the landlord just
I
grow
know.
corn? Just grow corn. I don't care if you're going to take a 10% loss.
We are getting asked to make this a show, especially putting the video up on YouTube.
Yep.
So as we look at this scenario, I took the labor down to 2.2 hours per acre, and the machinery depreciation stays the same. Because in a theory, if you're going to average your depreciation out across all your acres, that equipment is not going to change on a soybean. Whether it gets used on an acre or not, it's still your machinery depreciation figure. So if I come out this, we are looking at a $93, almost $94 an acre loss for soybeans.
17
Let's
grand.
say it's,
And that was counting on 70 bushel beans.
say you got non-GMO beans. You get $15. Does it even work? Or say you got a $3 premium. I don't know. What was the non-GMO premium for beans?
Are you asking me or Dave?
Yeah, you guys were hauling them a year or two ago.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It was a pain in the butt. That's what it was.
So
Just say it was $15.40.
Yeah, just change price.
Just go to $15.40.
Yeah.
$3 a bushel. Does anybody listening know where we sit? So that brings your revenue up to pretty close to corn. So
Hey,
it does work.
You made money.
I would argue that you're probably not going to grow 70 bushels. Back to 60.
Now it doesn't work.
Now it
anymore.
doesn't work.
So, I mean, that's 10 bushels, right?
Yeah.
Just changed $19,000
So,
worth
You
of
need
difference.
63 bushel an acre.
Yep, absolutely.
63 bushel make you break even and still make a little bit of money.
So that's what it's like. Oh, I got 60 bushel. Oh, well, I got 63. Well, it wasn't too much more. Well, actually, it was the difference of
making money or not making money.
Like,
Yep.
it's a huge. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's very, very tight.
I gave up $400 acre cash rent in Webster County because it didn't pencil for them.
Yep,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Futures don't look so good. Have you used Condex products? Oh, someone's trying to do an advertising in here. Smart place to do some advertising.
No free ads. No free ads.
use this product?
Can't count on non-GMO bean market forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Our non-GMO market is actually being flooded by Illinois right now. I found out from Chris Schick, After Party Farm Progress Show.
Yeah. Farm Progress Show.
Remember when we were down there the day before Farm Progress and there was those explosions at ADM South? There was that 5-alarm fire, fire trucks going everywhere. That took out their whole non-GMO soybean side of things. They are trucking the beans from Decatur, Illinois to Creston, Iowa.
So we do have a comment in here that there is a locked-in premium from one of our listeners at $3.50 per bushel
so
for
we're not-
non-GMO.
we're not
beans.
far
We're
off.
not far off.
But we also didn't raise, probably your herbicide plan would go up
Right.
there, but not enough to really do. But
You forgot one thing.
seed corn?
No, the auctioneer's commission. You did not figure that into your
Who
rating.
pays that?
Was it a buyer's premium?
I don't know if it was or not. It doesn't look like there was a
It
buyer's
would have had
premium
to
on
have
this one.
stated.
Yep. I don't see a buyer's premium, but that could be added into here as well. There's companies out there that are charging more buyer's premium on farmland too, and you got to assume that people are taking that into consideration. But on farm equipment, I've seen some values that stay exactly the same, even with buyer's premium. So there was a cash rent auction that a few years ago. It was live. This was online. you had to pay $100 to get in the door. So if you wanted to watch who was bidding and who was willing to give that much, you had to pay $100 to get in the door. And there was like 200 people in the room.
Wow.
So that's how they made their money. They just charged admission to come watch.
We just got a popular live and daily ranking emoji that came up, and it looked to me like the middle finger. But when I looked really close, it was a thumbs up.
All right.
I want to know if people watching like the halfway done studio with our barnwood behind us. We've got more plans for the white wall behind Dave, but we want to know if you enjoy seeing that as well. I got a question. What does the non-GMO bean go for as the end user? Is this for an oil? It obviously goes beyond the processor.
It'd be a food grade. The soybean gets split into so many different products. Your oils, your bean meal, probably some tofu type stuff, high protein, soy milk, that kind of stuff.
I can tell you what it means is you're going to buy me lunch because you said we'd be done by 10 o'clock. It is 11:30.
I did not say when we would be done. I said when we would start.
We can do lunch. So everybody that listened, I do think this will come out, and I honestly think that it's going to be a raw show and probably needs to come out tomorrow. I think it needs to be something that is extremely timely and come out. So we'll debate and talk about that as far as that goes. This was cool. I want feedback. farmforprofitllc@gmail.com if you want more live podcast recordings like this or what you would like to see as issues come about. Or you could send a text 515-207-9640. But ultimately, yes, I do think this will turn out to be really good.
The one scenario we did not run, which is big in the area, is seed corn. And if you want to run that, so you obviously have to have the bean side of things in the off year. A lot of commercial, they call it commercial corn equivalent in seed corn because you don't actually get bushels.
Yep.
They give you an allotted amount. So I've heard like 275 to 325 for commercial corn equivalent, much higher than what you have there. So obviously that's going to work. And what you don't have to store it, even though you're paying for the storage on this site, which is fine because you don't have to store it. You don't have to haul it. It's Chicago Board of Trade price. You don't have to deal with the basis. So seed corn really works well. Plus, seed corn only grows like 100. Seed corn only grows like 100 bushel per acre. You don't need as much nitrogen. You don't need as much P and K and all that kind of stuff to grow that. So there's some benefit there. But then you have to turn around and sit there and probably grow 60 bushel beans behind it and take the loss that year. So you could run that scenario yourself. Your opinion as a former banker, Tanner, how would you feel in this environment if one of your clients paid this?
You know, it would be one of those situations to where the judging based upon this high dollar, there is probably not a significant approval from a bank side. So that would make me think that either this is a person who rarely relies on a yes or a no from a banker, whether it's through personality type or if it's through lack of need for financing. Otherwise, my assumption is that this individual is operating on a fixed dollar amount. Say it's a $1 million operating note, and at their discretion, they can spend that $1 million however they wish because the bank feels comfortable, whether it's cross-collateralized with equipment or land. Ultimately, yes, if I saw that the winning bidder was my client, I would be frustrated. Ultimately, there's nothing you can do as a banker. Your job is to provide financing based upon credit exposure and your thoughts and processes as far as the ability to underwrite, rather than tell somebody they can or can't spend it in a certain area.
I can tell you Farm Credit is only allowing on their balance sheets for cash flow $300 an acre this year. That is the highest they will let you go.
I know one thing that a lot of my listeners might not put to farmland is how much all this costs. This is big numbers. It's big volumes, big margins sometimes, small margins sometimes, but there is a whole lot of risk. So when we went from $3,000 an acre to $20,000 an acre, or from $100 cash rent to $500 cash rent, all it did was make the risk tolerance that much larger.
That's like they said. Farming's, it's like burying $800,000 in the dirt in springtime and going back at fall time and trying to dig up $850,000.
Yep. You got it.
We're handling so much money, and now with the interest where it's at, the price to play and the risk is highest of all time.
Yep. Well, we better wrap up, guys.
Yeah, I think this was good. We're going to see about getting this put out as an additional show into our repertoire. Thanks to Corey and Dave for the idea for all of this, putting the studio to use, and I think it was a good conversation. But what do you guys say? Should we send them off?
We should.
All right. Thanks, folks. Until next time, have a good one.